Today we are flipping through the pages of Jesus Christ in Hell. Jesus Christ in Hell is written by NYAA HANS. Do you want to know what Jesus Christ is doing in hell? Then make yourself comfortable because the guest is right here to talk to us at length on this issue. Time for me to welcome you, NYAA HANS. Please come in.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Please have a seat.
Thank you.
Well, NYAA HANS, it's a pleasure to have you on this set today.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Now, tell me, this book was launched on the 8th of July last year. And of course, I noticed that on the day of the launch, we had a full house. Were you expecting that mammoth crowd?
I was expecting the crowd because we did a lot of publicity. And even before the launch, many people already indicated their willingness to be there. First, because of the title of the work, and then since we've always been having those book launches, people always come.
Apart from the massive attendance, what other thing marked you on the day?
As a matter of fact, it was not just about the attendance, but it was online. So we were dealing with an audience that was international. Yeah, and what also marked was the caliber of people who were there, and their interest in the work, and of course, their willingness to have the work, because many of them bought the works on that day.
I was sitting beside a man of God who said that this book is, should I say, a blasphemy? That you were blaspheming.
Yeah.
What would you say about that?
As a matter of fact, I think I got that comment also on Sarah TV Web. I think so, because after the book was launched, it was all over, and from the title of the work, he said, "It's a terrible book. I want to buy all the copies and have them burnt." And and still on that forum, the people who said that, "Please come on, buy it and give us, we'll read it." And so sometimes they say, "Don't judge a book from the cover." And so sometimes it's very good for us to always be very conscious, be mindful of what we say, especially when we are not very, very conscious or we don't know about the content of a particular work.
Okay, now please tell me, what is Jesus Christ doing in hell?
As a matter of fact, Jesus Christ went to hell. I'm not saying that Jesus Christ is in hell.
Okay.
He went to hell. And we say every day in churches, in the Apostles' Creed, he descended into hell. But as a matter of fact, on a very serious note, his going to hell was for the salvation of humanity. It was to free humanity. Ask yourself, people had been dying millions of years before he came and never returned. When he was alive, he said he would die on the third day, he would rise. And he actually went to hell. And it was indeed, it was not just a walk in the park. It was a struggle. It was a fierce battle against forces of darkness, against forces of evil. Those forces that had been keeping fallen souls in hell, they could not keep him because he had to overpower them. And if he did not overpower them, he would not have resurrected on the third day as announced. And the Bible says that there was a victory procession. If you try to get the image of a boxer or a wrestler, okay, when they win, let's say when they win the opponent, what do they do with the belt? They brandish it everywhere. Yeah. So that's the kind of picture. They said there was a victory procession to demonstrate how Jesus Christ effectively defeated the agents of darkness in hell.
Well, we are going to take our first break on this show, which is, of course, the foreword. And you had Collins Forge write the foreword for you.
Yes.
So let's listen to what he has to say as far as Jesus Christ in hell is concerned.
Brother Hans had informed me some years ago that he was working on a book, The Exploits of Jesus Christ in Hell. This subject had attracted my interest since my teenage years, when he was almost through with the book. He approached me and said, I will be the one to write the foreword to his book. This was an honor, and I accepted it. It is fulfilling, especially for a book like this one, with a subject matter that is concealed to many of this generation. It is like a reminder for them to go search history without prejudice, so that they will not be ignorant of the beliefs and practices of some devout Christians in the early centuries. To some extent, it is a call for concern, because the contents of this book are not known to many modern-day Christians. So we are not surprised to hear cries of sacrilege and blasphemy from many people who are ignorant of the beliefs and practices of some Christians in the early centuries. However, I have to say this, that I have not known the author of this work writing for or out of sheer pleasure, but from impressions of duty to exhort diligent seekers who may benefit from it. Even right from his early days in the university, when he was inspired to begin by writing Christian poems, I have observed him working tirelessly researching this topic. From the early Christian centuries, before the Bible canon, from which the present-day Protestant canon of 66 books was extracted, and then established in 1885. So this topic was not strange to many people then. And I feel that it's a hasty decision and also not okay for someone to condemn what he has not really known. To those watching, I would add that though the subject treated in this book seems strange to the public Christian tradition of our current era, that they should find comfort knowing now that it is not entirely a work of fiction. It is also grounded on the beliefs and practices of some Christians in the early centuries.
You're welcome back, and that was Collins Forjay praising this work. And of course, you said at the beginning that don't read the book just by looking at the cover, but you should get into the book to get what it really means. And he also emphasizes on that.
As a matter of fact, he is my elder brother who's impacted me so much as far as my Christian journey is concerned. And the issues of the supernatural are also issues that he very much researches on, and he continues to research on. It's not any kind of person would write the foreword of such a book that has a controversial title.
Okay. Now, the battle Jesus Christ carried on in hell was fierce, that you said. The forces in hell were not let bulldog after all, because we know how they have been manipulating and traumatizing the souls down in hell.
As a matter of fact, perhaps I must first make this very clear. This is a novel, which is it is a novel which is 90% scriptural and 10% fiction. Okay, and as far as the battles in hell is concerned, you see, before getting to hell, he already knew what he was going to face there. He already knew the strength of his opponent.
Satan, sin, and death.
Satan, death, and one of the characters, sin.
Yes.
These are the forces that have been keeping people hostage in hell. And as a matter of fact, these were people who came into existence because of the fall of man in hell. And one of the very important things that they had to do was just not about the battle, was to go and preach salvation to fallen souls. That was the most important thing, because he had finished what he had to do in the world, And dying on the cross was a kind of nailing it, was putting the final nail on the advances of the devil. And now that he had already preached to the living, he has preached the gospel of salvation to the living, it was but normal that he goes down to hell and preach to those who had died before he came. All right? And so, when you read the work, you realize that there was an encounter between him and Adam and Eve.
Now, yes, that brings me to asking you the question why it was important for Jesus Christ to meet Adam and Eve first before any other soul.
As a matter of fact, it's as a fiction, the very first human couple was Adam and Eve. We all fell from the Garden of Eden because of Adam and Eve. And what was his major aim of coming down to the world? To save humanity. And he have to descend to save humanity. It's but normal that the first people I should meet are the first the human couple. And as a matter of fact, as from the work, the encounter with them was wonderful because he had to extricate them from their bondage. He had to preach the gospel to them. And as a matter of fact, the Bible says that when he resurrected, those who believe in him, those who also resurrected with him. So I say it's a blend of deep scriptural knowledge and fiction. And I must tell you, it was not just the books of the Bible that we read. I even had to do research on works that many books that were in the compilation process of the Bible that were not taken. So there is so much knowledge about his exploit in hell that we have to read. And Jesus Christ in Hell, this novel, will, as a matter of fact, give us so much knowledge as far as his exploit in hell are concerned. And as far as the battles were concerned, it was to an extent was a kind of a walk in the park, because there was almost, as in the novel, he won all battles. He won all battles. And that is why he had to resurrect on the third day as prophesied. And he resurrected as a warrior. He resurrected as a champion. That's the reason why. Anyone who believes in him will not perish, but have everlasting life. Because he died and resurrected, if you believe in him, even though you die, you will you'll rise to live forever.
Okay. In the book, you give 3 different names to the world of the dead. You, at one point, you say you call it Sheol.
Sheol.
Another time you call it Hades. Another time you call it the lake of fire.
Yes.
Please tell me, what's the difference between
as a matter of fact, Sheol, Hades, and hell, they all refer to the space wherein souls that have died go there. But the lake of fire is different from, to an extent, hell. The lake of fire is actually the lake of burning sulfur that is reserved for the Satan and his followers. That is reserved for Satan and the fallen angels, and that is reserved for Satan and for those who don't believe in Jesus Christ. All right? Yes.
Okay, we are going to take another break on this program, and of course it is time for us to have the Vox Pop. We took down our microphones to the streets of Yaoundé to ask people what they think the forbidden fruit Adam and Eve were asked not to eat from the garden was. And this is what they had to say.
Okay, I think there are many versions of the forbidden fruit. People have so many versions about it, but we think that it has to do with the knowledge of evil. That is what the revolution of for them to know that this is good and this is bad. So when they did that, their eyes were open to know the difference between maybe a man and a woman, and what is good and what is bad.
It is what God did not really want somebody to touch. But in another way, anything that is secret, that God did not really want, or that you do not want somebody to do or say, because there's some secrecy in it, is forbidden. So that forbidden fruit that we are talking about was a test that God wanted to give to Adam and Eve, that they failed, and that is why the woman is what the woman is today. Yes, because a woman, anything that is going wrong, a woman must be involved in it, and then he will turn and blame the man because of that forbidden fruit that we are talking about.
In my own opinion, I think that they fornicated. That's why they discovered that they were naked.
To me, it was the intimacy. God did not want Adam and Eve to have intimacy. The intimacy like an intimate relationship, like having sex. It was the forbidden fruit, I can say.
You know, the Bible itself is a morality book, and as such, I always want to think that the language that is used in the Bible is figurative. The Bible did not just want to go straight to the point by saying that maybe Adam and Eve had intercourse, and that's why the forbidden fruit for me refers to that act of intercourse.
NYAA, you heard people giving their opinion as far as the forbidden fruit, is all about.
As a matter of fact, the Bible does not lie. In the book of Genesis, it is stated it was a fruit that was in the middle of the garden. And it was being, first of all, the snake deceived Eve to taste of that fruit.
And what is that fruit?
And the name of the fruit is not known, but it was actually a fruit. And when he tasted it was good, he then gave it to his husband, who tasted of it. And unfortunately, that caused their fall.
NYAA, you are a committed Christian of the PCC, that's the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon.
Yes.
And a great evangelist, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Okay, can this book be considered as a tool, your own tool of evangelism?
As a matter of fact, Jesus Christ in Hell is one of my greatest contributions in Christendom. It is a year of many years of research, of more than 8 years of research, in order to bring people closer to Christ, in order to amplify the Easter message. As a matter of fact, I am a typical African who envies almost nothing about the West. And for me, a typical African, to deeply fall in love with Jesus Christ means that there is something extraordinary about him that makes me a Christian. And the only I keep on saying that what pleases me about Western civilization, the number one thing is Christianity. And for me to write this work, first of all, the idea was to amplify the Easter message. Secondly, if there's anything that has changed the face of humanity, it is the resurrection of Christ Jesus. Now, for all the other religions that we know about in the world, I will not call the names here, but all their founders have died, and people even go to pilgrimages to see their graves. But Jesus Christ is not in the grave. It was, everybody knows that he resurrected. And now promises us that for those who will believe in him, they will not die. They will also live like him. That's the greatest message that humanity has ever received. That's the greatest news that I've ever received. And it is because of this reason that I saw it very important, very necessary for me to see to it that I get into the intricacies of the resurrection story, tell it in another way. You know, there are people, for instance, I'm a Pan-Africanist, and we have many people out there who don't just want to say anything about Christianity because they feel that it was another tool of the white man to enslave us or to exploit us. But for me, to be able to write this work as a literary piece, as a novel, perhaps those who feel very uncomfortable to read the Bible may get to this novel, and that may be another way to bring them closer to the truth that pastors have been preaching on the pulpit, or so the school teachers like us have been doing in churches, okay? So I think this is another way to retell the Easter story, but in a way that is very captivating.
Okay. Well, the Jesus we know while in the world of the living is a meek person, very wise, gentle, But the Jesus that you present in hell
Yes.
is one with a superpower.
Yes.
So why did he have to metamorphose as a Superman?
I like that question. Meekness is not a sign of weakness. And when you meet a situation where you are supposed to be meek, when you are preaching the gospel, you have to be soft so that you win the souls of people. But when you are going to fight against forces that have hurt God himself, forces that thwarted God's plan of creation, God's plan for man, forces that have brought men down. There is nothing that the devil is afraid of in this world. Nothing. Nothing. His only challenge is Jesus Christ. And those who hide under Jesus, those who believe in him, are stronger than the devil because they know that they carry Jesus Christ. All right? And so when they are fighting us and they see Christ in us, they run away because they know that he who is in us is greater than he who is in the world, and he who controls hell.
Okay, that's very interesting. We have to get something from the shelf, and we are looking at who a good editor is all about. So let's watch.
A good editor should be somebody who has, first of all, an eye for detail. Now, you should be able to quickly spot errors in a text. If you can't do that, then you can't be a good editor. That's the first thing I would say. A good editor should be somebody who is able to meet deadlines. Now, sometimes they give you, we have clients who say, I'm working on my thesis, okay? And I want you to edit it. I want it to be ready by this time. If you don't meet deadlines, it means you're going to create problems for your clients. You create problems for the authors. So a good editor should be somebody who is able to meet deadlines. A good editor should be tactful. Sometimes you see things that you want to be corrected in the author's, in the manuscript, and you have to be tactful in the way you bring this information to the author. It's not every author that is receptive. Not all of them are open to correction or suggestions. Some are very rigid. They say, okay, I've written this, it took me many months, it took me many years, and you just want me to change this and this. No, I'm not ready for that. So you have to be, a good editor has to be tactful. A good editor also has to be somebody who keeps secrets, because sometimes you edit confidential documents. They don't want you to know. Sometimes there are organizations that will ask you to sign, actually sign to indicate that you're not going to, of course, reveal the information to a third party. But for others, they don't need to tell you that, but your sixth sense or your editorial sense should let you know that whatever you are editing is strictly between you and the author. So you should be somebody who is able to keep secrets, keep that information. A good editor should be pragmatic. A good editor should be objective. If you see something and you think this is not okay, of course you use tact in, passing across your message to the author. A good editor should also be somebody who has good organizational skills and good communication skills, good communication skills, written and verbal. And a good editor should be also somebody who has a logical mind. You must reason logically. Of course, you must be able, when you read a text, you must be able to, understand what the author is saying. And even if the author hasn't told you anything, just by reading his manuscript, you know what he's looking for. So I've had examples where I've been going through a manuscript and I tell the author, there's a vacuum here. You have missed out a paragraph here. Logical thinking. You must be able to say that because you already know what the author is writing. You know what he's trying to bring out. So that's very important.
You're welcome back. you now know who a good editor is. We'll soon be drawing the curtains on this edition of the program. But before we go, please, can you tell me where the copies of this book are made available?
First of all, we can be able to get. Fortunately, we have a publishing company that distributes these works, NYAA Publishers, and they can get them online and on our website. We can get them at Pressbook, and as a matter of fact, we are still looking for many more avenues so this work can be distributed. This work will be launched also in Europe, and so we are going to see to it that you may be able to get even the hard copies in other parts of the world because it's highly solicited. Yes.
Yes, and how much does a copy cost?
For Cameroon here, it is cost 5,000 francs, and it costs $15 out of the country.
Okay, that's good. Well, you heard it from the horse's own mouth. If you read this book as a Christian, you will never remain the same because the story will cause you to build up your faith in Christ. Be it so, you should be on the alert. Thank you for watching this edition of the program. We are going to be having another interesting guest in the next edition, so just stay tuned. And of course, I want to leave you with this word: take it as it is and not the way you want it to be. So bye bye, kiss kiss.